OOrion, OOrion, is an app geared for people who are blind and visually impaired. It can help you find text, objects, and you can even scan your own personal objects. Let's talk about it. Hi everyone, this is Carrie on accessibility, and welcome to another episode of the Epic A11y Podcast, where we deep dive into accessibility and technology. On the podcast and on the channel generally, I discuss a lot of different products and services and may have interviews with different companies, but that is not a recommendation or an endorsement unless I specifically mention it. However, this podcast and the channel is supported by the COA members on Patreon and YouTube. A big thank you to Bernd K, Molly, and Mike C for becoming new COA members. As I mentioned earlier, this episode is about OOrion, which is an iPhone app that I briefly discussed in another video. It is a pretty cool app, and I will get into more of my thoughts after the interview. This interview was with Stephenie, so I'm just gonna go ahead and roll that, and I will meet you on the other side. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Could you go ahead and just please introduce yourself and what you do?
Hi, Carrie. So first, thanks very much for having me today on your podcast. So my name is Stephenie. I'm 26 years old and I'm the co-founder and CEO of OOrion. So we're based in Lyon in France. So we're a French team developing this app, OOrion, so two O's like the two I's at the beginning. OOrion is an app for visually impaired people, a free app available on the App Store, helping blind and visually impaired people to identify, but mostly to find and precisely locate elements in their surroundings, thanks to the camera of their smartphones and AI algorithms, so proprietary AI algorithms, computer vision, and also text recognition. So this is the main plot of OOrion, and yeah, we're small team. The idea was born 3 years ago, so yeah, we're still in development.
Got it. Yes, we'll get to how you guys started in a few minutes. But tell us a little bit more about OOrion. What are the different things that you can do with the app? What are some of its main features?
Yeah, well, maybe we can start by the little story of how the idea came to us, since it explains what we had, the logic we had with the app. So the idea came to us after meeting a blind lady, Christine, 3 years ago. Thomas, my associate, and I were at the time engineering students, and mostly studying AI development and the first basis at the time of AI algorithms and how they could be very optimized and performance also inside smartphones. So we put the parallel between those engineering skills and feedback we had from Christine, telling us that the previous day she had dropped her keys on the floor and spent on her apartment lobby and spent more than 20 minutes trying to find them back on the floor, and she couldn't make it on her own, and she finally had to call her son to help her finally go home. And so this was for her an example of very frequent situations where identifying but also locating precisely elements, I mean the last meter issue, was something she very frequent in her everyday life. And so we came to her with the solution, providing without any other equipment that the mere smartphones, and now that the smartphones are very accessible, it's more and more common that visually impaired people can use smartphones and everything. So at the time, we started to develop this app. So the OOrion app is free for all on the App Store and has 5 main features. The main one is, the most differentiative one is the search for an object one. So the situation is precisely, I'm looking for the precise location of a bus station. I know I'm not far away from it. I know my GPS guided me towards the bus station, but I don't know the precise location of it. And so this is the example. You tell OOrion, I'm looking for a bus station. So you select it in the list. You can also type it. You can also vocally enunciate it. You can also use Siri and say, hey Siri, search for an object with OOrion, and then tell bus station. And then you're going to have, then the searching process is launched, and you just have to swipe the environments with your smartphone's camera. So there's a little, you have to handle it at first, but once you master the swiping movements, after that, it is very easy, because once the object is found, it will guide you with beeps and vibration towards the precise location of the object. So it works for big objects like bus station, bench, door, but also small one like an outlet, a power outlet in your hotel room, for instance.
When you say swiping, do you mean panning around, like moving the camera around, right?
Moving the camera, trying
Okay.
to put, the camera to orientate the camera towards the potential place it can be. If it's something you may have dropped on the floor, you need to put it in that direction. Sorry, but yeah, that's the idea. You pan around with your smartphones. So you don't need to have any tag put before. So that's the plus. But yeah, you need to have this little handle of the app at the very first time you use it. But afterwards, it's quite easy. The guidance. Our users like how we guide with sounds, with also haptic feedbacks. It's going to vibrate, giving information of the precise direction the object is. And in a very near future, we're going to give you more information about where the object is located and the different obstacles there is between you and the object, and also more information about the object. So that's the very near future. We're going to add this about this feature. So this is the main one. That's why I spent a little more time explaining it. This is the one that we were the first one to develop 3 years ago, and we had to make many different updates of the app to reach a certain performance. But now we're quite happy with the performance and the faithfulness of the app for now. So there are 3 other main feature and a 5th one that is very recent. So the 3 others are the inverted feature. You have so the first one I just presented is the search for an object. The second one is nearby objects. So you just have to pan around, and it's going to describe to you all the elements that are recognized by our AI. You also have the 2 similar features, but for text. So you're able to find precise text in the surroundings. For instance, there's a pharmacy not far away from you. You can search for the word pharmacy, for instance, or grocery store or Target. I don't know, any word you would like to find in the surroundings. And there's also the nearby text. This one is not very new or innovative. We know that many tools offer text reading, but this specificity of this feature is that it works fully offline. Actually, the whole OOrion works fully offline, which is the main difference with the other apps existing. And the very last thing about the app currently the current existing app is the very new feature that is add your own personal objects to the app. It's a feature that is based on quite recently discovered AI techniques that are based on few shots and not huge data sets anymore, enabling you to, just by scanning your personal item, adding it to the OOrion's AI. And so, for instance, your headphones or your specific glasses or a specific door or specific your children's toys or your dog's pocket, or I don't know, any very personal and specific objects, you're going to be able to add it yourself by scanning it a few seconds and naming it the way you want. This way, you have your own personal library inside the AI of Orion, but it's not shared to anyone. It stays on your own personal phone. We don't uh, we don't take your data from it. It's a choice from us. So yeah, those are the main features of Orion, and so the differences with the other existing one is really this offline working possibility and this personalization of the AI, which is possible with Orion.
So you mentioned that it's for iOS.
Yeah,
Do you have any plans to bring it to Android?
yeah. Well, it's a very good question, a very tricky one because it's the one we have every day. Yeah, it is a plan for us to make it available on Android. Of course, it is
Mhm.
in our priorities, but it's not the top one because first we needed to reach a certain maturity in terms of acquisition and retention of our app, even though if it was only on iPhone. So this is what we did previous years. Then now our focus is mainly to find a business model. I mean, a viable business model, which is we can talk about it afterwards. But yeah, this is the current main focus. But the next priority will be to extend it, of course, to Android language. I mean, store. First, we did choose to develop only on Apple because technically, if we wanted to reach some certain level of performances, we needed to choose between one of the two languages. We needed to choose a native language. So
Mhm.
serving and talking to ergotherapists and organization and many people, we understood at the time that Apple was more accessible and had more efforts for accessibility. So we we started with the iPhone. But at the end, I mean, long term, of course, we want to develop on Android, maybe at a 1 year horizon. We really hope, just once we've stabilized a little more things.
So you mentioned that the app is free, which is great. There are quite a few apps, and especially before, there used to be more apps that are paid. So how did you decide to develop this for free, and how are you supporting it?
It's a very central question, of course. Actually, the since we started, we have had a lot of reflection about it. At first, we were wondering if we could do some freemium or if we could make find a way to not to have it too expensive for the final users, but just to also make this viable. So that was the very beginning of Orion, where we were still wondering how we would do. But actually, we at the time we raised funds. People
Mm.
believed on the issue we're targeting. I mean, they believed we had a potential, even though we hadn't find our business model yet at the time.
Mhm.
And we continued to, and we finally realized that our priority was to keep it, to make it the more accessible as possible for the final users. This is our goal. I mean, we work for accessibility.
Mhm.
We found it very stupid and almost, I mean, absurd to make it paying since we're looking for universal accessibility. So we decided to dig deeper and to have more reflection on how we could find a different business model. And thanks to the R&D work, my associate Thomas, who is CTO of Orion, he did a lot of work of searching for new tech to incorporate in Orion. And the few shot learning I just told you about, enabling people to add their own specific objects to the app. Well, this very precise tech enables us now to offer to places to add their own specific elements to Orion's AI to make themselves accessible. So we realized that this tech, this future learning, this possibility for anyone to enhance the AI, I mean locally, enables us to propose to a hotel, a retail store, a pharmacy, I don't know, a bank agency, a post office. Anyone can add virtual tags of the environment, add their own
Mm.
door, entrance door, for instance, but also a welcoming desk, elevator door, or in a hotel room, for instance, you can add the thermostat, you can add the welcoming platter, for instance. So it enables you to virtually tag the environment, to associate information to objects of the environment, and to make it available through our OOrion app. So how it works concretely, we propose to places, they subscribe to a license, which is an annual license, but not so expensive. We want it to still be accessible because our strength will remain on the number of places that make themselves accessible through OOrion. And so our user, once he's at the proximity of a place, we could say label OOrion, well, he can access to a partner space where he will be able to find the precise entrance of this place, the precise welcoming desk, the precise elements constituting the environments. And so, in a way, we're inventing the virtual tagging of the environments, needing nothing else than just a smartphone, no equipment to install, no big travels to install it at the other and in another country. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So this is quite scalable, and so the idea came to us because first a retail store in France, Carrefour. I don't know if you know this brand, Carrefour, came to us and
No.
told us, "Well, your tool can make our stores accessible if you think this way." And so this is how we had the idea. So we can now propose to hotels, for instance, to make their hotel rooms way more accessible through our partner spaces. And so this is our business model, and this is why also we asked you to wait a little before doing this podcast, because this model has has come to our mind, I don't know, maybe 1 year ago, but we were
Mm-hmm.
not ready technically, but now we are. So we're launching it in the first places in France. We have already done more than 10 stores in France. We're now doing some hotels, and we plan on doing it at a larger scale because our tool works in 32 languages, so it is translated in any language. So it becomes an accessibility tool for places. Also doing communication. I mean, they can do communication through the OOrion app because someone coming to, I don't know, Paris can know now which place has made the effort to be made more accessible via OOrion.
Mm-hmm.
This is the main business model. Yeah.
That's really interesting because there are a lot of other solutions out there right now that
Mhm.
require a lot of equipment, 3D mapping, even devices that companies need to have
Mhm.
in the store, their facility, or even there's Navulance where they have to have some type of QR code or sort of QR code. Um, so this is interesting that it's only just using the camera. Now, my question is, who is creating these tags? Like, is your team going out into these locations, or can business owners go ahead and tag things themselves, or how does that work?
First, thank you for the compliments. Yeah, we think it's maybe it's the key to make it more universal. The fact that you don't need anything to install, so I can just send you an email, send you your I mean identification and keyword and password, and you can access to your own space. So the idea on the long term is to make it fully turnkey, so you have nothing to do. I mean, we OOrion have nothing to do. We just send you your access to your space, and once you're in it, we provide you a tutorial explaining how it works, but it's very simple. If you want, we can send it to you. We already done a first version of the tutorial to send to the first clients we have. It's very simple. You just have to do some virtual tags. So you scan the elements you want to tag. So you create a library kind of your place. And then you can set up all the buttons, transmit also textual information, but also audio information associated to it. You can also add a phone number if you want to give this information also, and also provide with scan the environment. The basic features of OOrion. You can set depending on your need. For instance, we've installed OOrion in a very nice hotel in Paris 3 weeks ago, which is the Molitor. I don't know if you know this one. It's a big hotel, and so we did the setup for the room. So first we arrived, we connected to this space, then we scanned all the main items we wanted to make identifiable in the room and make findable. The welcoming platter, but also the Bose enceinte, the speaker. There was a specific Bose speaker which was very fancy, and so we wanted to indicate that there's this Bose speaker. And once the object is found or identified, we can give you information about how this works. So this can be fully set up by someone. At the end, it will be one person from the hotel, but for the moment, we propose to do it ourselves since it's the very beginning, and so we don't want you to have to come to pass through hurdles and problematics and bugs and yeah. So for the moment, we do it ourselves, but in the end, it's going to be full turnkey. Nothing coming from us. You can do everything on your own if you are the manager of a place you want to make accessible.
That's really interesting. Have you ever thought of making that available to a user? So let's say there isn't there's a venue or like a facility that is unwilling to pay or something. Maybe a user, or even just to identify the locations that they would like.
Yeah.
Is there a way to do
It's very
that?
fun. It's kind of the first thing we did once we found out that this would be a good idea. We sent an email. Very simple thing. We're still very simple at OOrion. Do very simple emailing and newsletter. But, through our newsletter, we gave the information to our users that we're going to provide this solution to places to make themselves more accessible. So the first thing we did was asking them if they had places in mind where they wanted us to set OOrion, because those are places they are going to or they've been to and wasn't accessible for them. So this is what we did first, so a few weeks ago. And so we already have a few addresses we can contact and say, well, there's a very precise, identified person who thinks that your location is not accessible enough and thinks maybe something like OOrion could very easily make it more accessible. And so here, it's direct. It's quite logical and direct, and so maybe it's gonna make us more lucky to sign with those places, of course, because it comes from the final users. So yeah, in our mind, we imagine something that in the end is gonna feed itself on its own. People going to a place can use OOrion if it's already labeled, and if it's not, can propose to install OOrion. And everything very, simple and virtual. So very, straightforward.
So I think what I mean is there is a nearby objects mode, and there's a way to scan personal objects, right?
Mhm.
So that would be interesting to have specific personal objects or or whether because a lot of places, they still have a lot of resistance to making things accessible.
Mhm.
So I wonder if there's a way to for a user to scan a particular area, like let's say there's a doctor's office that I always have trouble finding, like the welcome desk. Like, could I maybe scan that and have that available, and only in the nearby objects mode, maybe have a way that I can find that again without having everything announced, like chair
Oh,
and all the other things. So
okay,
that,
that's interesting. I hadn't understand it this way, but it's also quite interesting. It's quite in between your own personal library, because you can add
yes.
your own objects. I mean, any desk
Hmm.
you want, so it can work on your personal side. It can also work like by telling your doctor to add the elements to a partner space and to make him subscribe to Ryan. But we hadn't really imagined in between thing. But yeah, it's something we will have to talk about with my associate, because it's an in between situation, which is quite interesting. And you're not the first one to tell me about waiting room, doctor's office or anything.
It could be also a public space where, or
Mhm.
something, even let's say a mailbox, or like a certain feature of like your friend's house or something like that, that's not necessarily a business, that you may want to tag or label or something. So that would be a pretty cool idea.
Ah, that's interesting. Okay.
But moving
Um,
along, I'd like to know a little bit more about your development process, and what is that like, and how do you include users that are blind or visually impaired in your process?
yeah. Well, it's also very central. It's something we actually prioritize, of course, from the very beginning. Since Thomas and I are not visually impaired people, we none of us had blind women or men or people around us having vision issues. So we knew at the very beginning that people were gonna wait for us to make the error of not of imagining something we're not concerned by. So from the very beginning, we started by doing association visits in specialized centers in France. So we did a Tour de France tour of all the specialized association in France. Then we gathered a small group of very close users, I mean potential users, so visually impaired people of different kinds, so different types of vision loss, and we gathered them from the very day one of the process. First, we validated the idea by discussing and doing this tour. Then we made the first prototype and we sent it to our 100 base of users, of close beneficiaries. And so, yeah, that was the process was mainly about doing those, back and forth with our users base, which was a very small one at the beginning, but progressively is bigger and bigger. And now, so we're, as I was saying before, we think we've reached quite a certain level of maturity concerning retention rates and acquisition. So we have a nice base of faithful users that is quite obvious, and we have a few people that are still here. So I would say maybe 50, a base of 50, very close one. We ask for feedbacks all the time. We constantly ask to our users through our newsletter and our sites and our communication to give us feedbacks, because it's the main, I mean, it's the most important thing. So yeah, it's not only that we include them, it is we are, I mean, we gravitate around them. I mean, they are the center of the thing, and we constantly try to fit to it and to their feedbacks, because those are our main priority. We have in mind to maybe, if we're lucky, maybe next year to have one blind person join the team. We would really love it. We have a few people, few people that would be maybe interested in joining. So this would be even better. But for the moment, yeah, it's very close people that were there for the very beginning, and don't hesitate to give us feedbacks constantly.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
I don't know if I've said it, but we have now like 1,500 users located in more than 110 countries around the world. I mean, there's no barriers, there's no frontiers, because our tool is available in 32 languages.
What are your goals for the future? Where do you see OOrion?
That's also a nice question. Well, we think we have a quite clear vision of where we want to go. We would love to, be a reference first in terms of performances and faithfulness in this field of helping to identify and helping getting more information about the environment for visually impaired people in everywhere around the globe. I mean, without having any frontier. We would love to be a reference in terms of making things accessible and places accessible in an intelligent way. So using quite state-of-the-art techniques. We're working on new techs to maybe make it more and more complete for inside places. So, I mean, I won't say more about it, but we have technical roadmap, but a product roadmap is to become a reference and to be in many places and to become something quite referential in terms of making your place accessible. Because I mean, you don't really have excuses if your place. You don't have to install anything or to make someone come to your place, or there's no geographical limit. Or so we would love to spread as much as possible and to be known at a high scale, because we think that it's what's going to make the strength of our tool. So we take this opportunity to make this little call. If you're even in a place, a hotel, a venue, any venue, even a sporting club, or because for sporting clubs, for instance, could be very interesting too. If you're a retailer or a gym or anything, if you want to make your place more accessible, just come and try OOrion. We're at the beginning, so we're gonna be quite, communicative and flexible for the first places installing OOrion. And really, for the concerning the price, it's not gonna be. It's gonna be about a few hundreds per year, but nothing way more expensive, because we want to stay accessible. So this is our vision, and also very much about confidentiality of your data. This is what we have in mind, is the offline and the instantaneousness of our tool is very important for us, and the fact that we don't share the data to anyone is important also.
That's really good to hear. I also love that it is offline. Now, I do want to ask you a question. There are a lot of other apps out there that are somewhat similar. They can find objects. That some of them you can, scan personal objects. Some of them you can find text. So I don't think there's like a particular app that has the same exact feature set. Also, since you're venturing into kind of the indoor mapping of environments or indoor
Mhm.
navigation. There are also quite a few apps there right now. I guess, are you worried about that? Are you concerned about that? Or how are you planning to stay unique?
Yeah, well, it's also something we think about a lot. Also, since we've been to the CES last January, so the Consumer
Mm,
Electronics Show, so we've seen what is made in every country, all types of solution, and we're fully aware that many other tools, other tools exist. We still think that with that level of performance, accuracy, we still are among the better ones. We also seen some solutions that are not as performance or as efficient, but we know that a few of them are, yeah, are direct concurrents. But we think that it's more a good sign than a bad sign, having, other people doing the same thing. It confirms that there's something there and there's like a need, and that people will need this kind of tool. And we think we emphasize some specific elements to show that we're still unique. Actually, you say that now some other tools enable you to add your own objects and to find text, to find things. Well, it was not the case at the time we started 3 years ago
that's
first.
true.
But it's okay, no problem. It just means that it's a good idea. We think that we still have this advance. On some technical subjects, we're quite advanced. So we this is why we're not very worried about the concurrence on this field, because at the end of the day, what matters is how you're going to make your company survive, which is why for the moment we focus on the business parts. It is also a way to differentiate, because if our I mean unless all of our concurrents, the Seeing AI or all those concurrents decide to make places more accessible too, but it's something maybe not that probable. I don't know. But unless they decide to do exactly the same, doing some B2B and location accessibility, giving enhanced information compared to the initial AI we propose, is a way for us to differentiate, and to differentiate truly, because it's a real work behind it. It's places that will register, will share true information. So unless competitors choose to have also this development acts, we will stay different on this side, and we continue to be quite ahead of all the technical innovations. We know Gen AI is now the big subject of all those apps, so we're thinking about how to position ourselves among all those people.
Hmm.
And
So
just
that
last word about all the other solution, the other accessibility tools. Well, those other accessibility tools, what we observe in France at least, they are very expensive. They are very heavy to install. They need mapping, 3D mapping, so they can only target big places like train stations or airports. Or we want to be the small retail store as much as the big hotel. We want to make it more universal,
mhm.
and more scalable in this direction.
Out of curiosity, do you plan to integrate some type of AI description? So, for example, scene description, AI scene descriptions.
Well, it's it's actually good curiosity, because yes, we do. Without keeping, some suspense. It's something we're going to launch in September. It's going to be limited for several reasons, but we're going to propose an option you can activate or not. that will give you enhanced information about the elements. So, for
Okay.
instance, I'm looking for my bottle, or I'm looking for a bottle in my counter. Well, if you're looking for the bottle, at the moment Orion makes his work and says like the bottle has been found. It is at 2 meters from here, and I will guide you. It will also give you, thanks to Gen AI, information about the type of bottle. I mean, the object itself, but also where it is precisely. If it's on a counter, if it's on the floor or anything, and also obstacles between you and the element, so that you have enhanced information about the first thing at first you're looking for. Yeah, that's something I'm going to try. I don't know. Do you think it's something interesting?
Yeah, I think that that's interesting. When I have tried Orion, I can hear where it is. It's hard to know if it is on the floor or on the table, or if it's next to which counter it's on. Things like that I think would be really helpful. Now, I want to ask you, what are you most excited about with technology, whether it's assistive technology or mainstream technology? It could be related to Orion or not. Like, what are you most excited about?
Well, I think I will take the engineering point of view. My associate and I, we met on the benches of an engineering school in France. At first, we were tech people. I mean, it's a field we've been studying for a long time, and especially at the CES. I don't know if you had the chance to go there, but it's the main place. I think it's the main summits where you can see the most impressive things in terms of technologies. So on a large, spectrum, I am very excited to observe that for the moment, and I will speak a little about Orion. We think that the wave of the AI wave that has come. I mean, it's everyone knows it's been a few
Hmm.
months that people only talk about AI. Actually, Thomas and
Yes.
I have been working on AI for 4 years, 3, 4 years. So it's
Hmm.
something. It's at the same time we're like, yeah, we've been working on this for a long time. So people discovering it now, I think it's a little funny, but it's also very exciting because for Thomas and I, it means that we had felt that it would be potentially direction. So we're quite
Hmm.
happy of how the context evolves and the current context that is about AI and more and more about also inclusivity and inclusion and accessibility. So we feel like maybe the time is right. very, very. I want to say very humble saying it, but we're quite excited to see how technologies evolve the way we kind of wanted them to evolve, and the performances and the impressive things done by all the GAFAM and all the especially Americans. It's quite impressive to see, and we want to stay at the page on it. So we need ourselves to always learn new things, and yeah, it's quite exciting.
I love it. I love AI and all the tech that's coming out. But
Yeah,
thank you
thank you.
so much for joining today. This was such a pleasure to do this interview with you. Is there any last things you would like to share with the audience?
Thank you very much for welcoming us, even though we're a French team and we're far away from you. And but
That's the
we
beauty of the
really,
internet.
yeah, yeah, it's nice, and we hope we're gonna go back to this US soon. We think we can only, yeah, encourage all your community to go and try on Orion. Please make us feedbacks, and we are very open to all kind of feedbacks. It's very important to us because at the end of the day, we're looking for a useful tool and performance tool, and working working tool. And also, yeah, this new direction of Orion about places, making them more accessible. Please don't hesitate to contact us at contact at OOrion.fr, or via our network, social networks on LinkedIn or anything. If you have places, ideas of how some places can be made virtually tagged via OOrion, and yeah, for a more inclusive world, we want to speak all languages and we don't want barriers. So yeah, spread the words around you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Stephenie. There you go. That is the interview. Stephenie was such a lovely person to chat with, and the people that I have met at OOrion are very nice. I can't believe they've been around for 3 years. It doesn't feel like that. And what I'm really realizing is how old I'm getting, because a lot of the startups and the people making these startups are starting to be younger than me, and I don't know how to feel about that. But that aside, let's talk about the app and the interview. I like the app. It's nice. I know some iPhone users that really enjoy it. However, it's not available on Android, and Android is my primary phone, and without it being there, I find that I don't really use it very often, like really rarely. I do really like that you can scan personal objects, and once that gets onto Android, since Seeing AI doesn't have that, that would be really nice. However, it also struggles with the fact that sometimes it's just easier to pull out an app that just has all the different categories and all the different modes, instead of an app that specifically has this and specifically has that, and just pick and choose. There's just so many apps. There's just way too many, and then you get stuck. You're paralyzed. Which app am I going to pick for this task? Honestly, a lot of the time it's just going to be one or two apps that I choose. But it's also going to depend on your use case. I really like that everything is offline. I think that is definitely a huge plus. I don't know. If you're an iPhone user, let me know if you're using OOrion or if you've tried it and what you think. Leave it in the comments below. Now I want to move on to their venture into the navigation space. I really like that you don't need any special equipment. There's so many other companies that they require other companies or businesses or locations to have sound beacons or Wi-Fi, whatever, and just have physical hardware on site. And whether it's physical hardware or sometimes they have to do 3D mapping, and sometimes they need QR codes, which, yes, isn't too difficult, right? But OOrion is really nice because you can just use your phone camera and that's it. And you can just make whatever tags you need. So if AI is able to handle this well, then I'm all for it. I like this idea. However, I really wish that users could have more control, that we can tag different items and different locations and things, because let's just face it, not all businesses, especially here in the United States, are going to be willing to have some type of subscription with a company to make things accessible. And that's the reality that we live in, and it would be great if we could tag things. So if it could be businesses and users working together to kind of make things accessible. And what if a business didn't tag certain things that you want tagged? What if it isn't a business? What if you want a list of all the different objects or tagged locations? And are you able to access that? And it's really nice that you can pan around. However, it would be also really nice if you knew what to pan around for. What is available? Often I walk into a building and I'm like, okay, what's here? What else is available that my camera doesn't have access to, or it's too far away, or upstairs, or in another area? There's so many places that give out maps, and those aren't accessible, obviously, but they give an overall idea to somebody sighted and they can just grasp everything that is available. So I'm hoping they somehow implement a little bit of that and maybe have a list of all the different tagged locations or items in a location. Another issue that I have flagged before is that now that indoor navigation, there are some companies who have been embracing it, even here in the US, but you never know what company and what building and which facility, what is available for which app, and it's just so fragmented. And that is one of the big struggles, I think. Yes, it's nice to have a notification when you're on site. Oh, hey, this location, it has indoor navigation with this app or OOrion or another app. But a lot of the time, I don't go to the location right away. I plan things out and I want to know, does it have indoor navigation, or does it have this feature, or does it have that accessibility thing? And there's not really a way to do that except manually searching up each address. So that is also a challenge. After the recorded section of the interview, Stephenie mentioned to me that in France, a lot more companies and locations are willing to make their spaces more accessible because it's part of the law. And that's one thing that I really wish could be applied here in the US. Those are my thoughts. I wish all the best for OOrion. Hopefully the indoor navigation space can continue to be improved. And I want to know your thoughts. What do you think about indoor navigation? What do you think about OOrion's solution? Let me know in the comments. And if you do go to a location that has it, let me know. What was the experience like? Did you like it? What do you think could be improved? How do you think we could solve the hurdle of indoor navigation? What is the right solution? Let me know your thoughts. That's it for this episode. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up below. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you'd like to support the channel and what I do here, consider becoming a COA member on YouTube or Patreon. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.